Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to The Law, live audio wrestling. This weekend, we crowned a new lineal undisputed heavyweight champion. Oh my goodness, Tyson Fury, or who I call now the Wobbling Giraffe, against Alexander Usyk. Now, Chris, I know your feelings because we talked throughout the fight. I think you said that your favorite thing in the world now is Alexander Usyk listening to his national anthem while death staring the cameras and looking directly not into the Fury's souls, but looking into all of our souls to tell us that he's going home with the title tonight. What were your thoughts heading in, and what were your thoughts heading out of this big heavyweight championship fight?
Listen, they know how to put on fights in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia now, because this was one of those. This was basically for those of you that know, I'm going to use a reference here. This was a New Japan New Year's Eve spectacular of boxing, is what this was, because this started at like 3 o'clock in the morning and went until 7 o'clock at night. It was unbelievable the amount of fights and the spectacle, the building, the atmosphere. They've got this right now. And so I started watching, got some stuff done and then started watching the fights, and the fights just kept getting continuously better, continuously better. That co-main event was absolutely bonkers. And then we had the main event, and I was on the edge of my seat. Listen, I paid for all of the furniture. I only used the edge. Okay. Because this fight delivered. It absolutely delivered everything. Here's what I liked about it is there wasn't a huge fanfare like there usually is leading up to it. It was, here is the Saudi Prince's national anthem. Here's the entrances. Boom. Like, let's get this thing going. Right. And I liked that. Tyson Fury is always a jokester on his entrances, which was great. But just the stoic nature of Alexander Usyk just made you go, oh, this guy is an absolute beast when
It
it
had
comes
Mike. It had Mike Tyson vibes.
time to turn on that red light. Here's what I like about Usyk even better is that he is still so humanitarian based. It's unbelievable. Tyson Fury has a way, and a lot of boxers, not just Tyson Fury, a lot of boxers have a way, and a lot of fighters have the way of doing this as well, where they're like, they live the gimmick, so to speak. Right, where they what you see on that camera after the fight is the same thing. And Tyson Fury did this, and I want to get into this in a second because he's a moron. But Usyk has this way of, like, when he's there to fight, boom, done, deadpan. But then you talk to him afterwards, and he's got tears coming down his face because of his old man. And one of the greatest things is still to this day when people say, would ask Usyk the question for years now, leading up to all of this. How do you feel about the fight? How did you feel afterwards? How do you feel about? That's always the big question. And Usyk's answer is always the same. I feel. That's it. I feel. It's magnificent what this guy has been able to do. And now, officially, Alexander Usyk goes out there against a guy that he's giving up about 30 plus pounds to. Because this heavyweight division is absolutely bonkers. And Tyson Fury is an absolute giant. And I firmly believe that Tyson Fury has only been this good for this long because he's just bigger than everybody else.
I've been saying that since day one, man.
You know what I mean?
This has been a height and weight thing,
It's
and until somebody figures it out,
yeah. But he went in there against a guy who is a better boxer. Now, Tyson did a great job of trying to, keep him away and use his bullying tactics and do all of that stuff, because this was a fight. This was a heavyweight fight that could have gone either way right up until Tyson Fury did what Tyson Fury does all the time. And we talked about this. He does it where he decides, I'm going to eat a couple of extra ones in the face. And Usyk got on him. Now, here's my question to you, Bradie, because you saw all of that.
mm-hmm.
Do you think that fight should have been stopped?
In any other circumstance, I think that was a TKO. But because of how big this fight is and what was on the line and the legacy and not wanting to see anything sketchy or anyone have any doubts or leave any doubts in anybody's minds, no, the ref did the proper job there. Now, if there was no ropes, would have Tyson have went down and been able to get back up? I don't think so. I think his legs were gone. So if he didn't get caught by those ropes and he didn't get saved by that bell, Tyson was not getting back up. Not in 8 seconds anyway.
Well, I mean, and this is the thing. Now that brings up the next question because we've seen this before. We saw it against Deontay Wilder where they gave Tyson Fury like 7.5 days to recover before letting him get back into the fight.
14 seconds is what they gave him.
That's 4 seconds longer than you're supposed to.
Well, you're technically not supposed to have any longer than 8 seconds. You're supposed to be standing at 8 seconds, get your bearings back before 10, right? Your fists have to go up. You have to be able to hold your fists and have a little bit of restraint against the referee grabbing your wrists. If the referee feels that, then you can go back out.
Yep. And there was some instances where they'll have a guy get knocked down. Get up, walk over to that corner. Now walk back to me. Do you want to do this? Get your hands up. Are you sure you want to do this? All right. Don't make me get involved. Right? That's perfect.
I've seen refs stop fights just by grabbing the wrist and seeing that there's nothing there. Because if your arms are like where your legs are at and your entire body and your equilibrium is thrown off, your arms aren't going to give the restraint that they normally would when a referee grabs them. That's how the ref stopped the Ben Askren fight with Jake Paul. He grabbed his wrist and realized there was nothing there and stopped that fight. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Askren was out cold. There's no doubt about that. I mean, listen, there's good referee and there's bad referee. And let's hope that we're kind of getting a little bit better at some of the stuff because there was a fight over on Top Rank. There was some sketchy officiating where the guy was like, stop, but without stepping in, and dude ended up eating one. And it kind of changed the trajectory of the entire fight after that. But, you know,
the referee that gave Tyson the decision, 114 over 113. Sorry, yes, the judge. Sorry, referee's in my head now. The judge. Should he be completely banned from judging boxing?
I don't know about banned, but I definitely think that there needs to be. Here's the thing that I've always said is I would love to know. And I think that there needs to be some kind of committee that takes some of these judges, whether they judged on one side or whether they judged on the other. And I think that there needs to be some kind of, you know how like in the NFL, you can sit down and you watch film on Tuesday before you go out there to practice. You watch what happened in that last week and you try to figure out what happened, what you did right, what you did wrong. I think the same thing can be said and should be said, and not just on your own time at home. I think that there should be a committee. I think that there should be people responsible for sitting down with referees, sitting down with judges, making them watch the fights that they judged on and explain how they got to those scores. Explain, oh, this is what I scored that. Oh, this is why I scored that, what I scored that. Because maybe they're looking at something, completely askew and it just doesn't work. And you're like, wait, what? How can you possibly be doing that? I think that's how you teach. I think that's how you progress. I think that's how you try to make these guys better understanding, because we've always said it a long time, even in the world of MMA, right? And a lot of that judging comes from over on the boxing side, but we've said it before where it's like, well, wait a second. How can you judge something differently than something else? How can you judge it like this takes more damage than say that does? If you don't really know a leg kick more so than, you know, on a lower leg, on the upper leg, like what is the difference? With body shots, with where they're landing, with how the person carries themselves after they've taken a shot. If you look at boxers and you see a lot of guys that'll turn and roll with the punch and they look like they're catching it a lot more square than they actually are. But their ability to roll with the punch makes it look like it's a much more devastating shot. So let's find out from these judges what exactly it is, because you look at some of these scorecards and you're just like, how the fuck did you come up with that?
Well, not only did that judge think that Tyson won, Tyson himself thinks that he won. Now, do we want to talk about Tyson's after-fight speech here? Because I know that you messaged me right away, and you're like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this."
Listen, Tyson, yeah, he came out and he said, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said there's two sides to a lot of these guys, and Tyson doesn't seem to have those two sides. He's just Tyson Fury living the gimmick. Whereas you have like Usyk, who's a guy who is like, you know, he carries around his Eeyore You gonna fuck with a guy who carries an Eeyore stuffy with him anywhere? Like, that's just crazy to me. You know what I mean? But Tyson Fury is like the party guy all the time. And this was both two undefeated guys. Somebody's had to go.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury, his colors, as colorful as they are, kind of came out a little bit after that when he said he thought he had won that fight. Well, listen, had it not been for you getting knocked loopy and that 10-8 round, maybe that fight could have been a draw. That was the most you were going to get out of that. It was not, you did not win that fight. You might have been able to get a draw because you might have been able, coming down to that last round, been able to, that's the way that I had it, was coming down to that last round. If Tyson Fury can win this last round, he might be able to pull out a draw, except the fact that that one round was a 10-8 round.
Yeah.
And that's what lost it for you, bro. And
Yeah.
then you went and said stupid shit.
What did he say, Chris?
He said that people were voting. There's 3 fucking judges, guys. They're saying that people were voting for Usyk because he comes from a country that is involved in a war and people feel sorry for him. Now, I'm paraphrasing, that's not the exact words maybe, but
That's
that is
close
exactly
enough.
what he said. He
That's
said
close enough.
people voted for him because they feel sorry for him because his country's in a war. Bro, come on.
It's not even about what side of the war you're on or where your feelings are. At the end of the day, that's not why they gave him the decision, you idiot. It's because you were friggin' running all over the place, like I said earlier, like a drunk, lazy giraffe.
This goes back to what I've said before, Bradie, as well. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I firmly believe that after some of these fights, and we've seen this in MMA before too, there's just some instances where you shouldn't give them the fucking microphone, man.
Yeah, no.
And
Not
this
only
was
for themselves, but just for the product.
100%. 100%. And we've seen it. We've seen it in boxing before. We've seen Adrian Broner was a prime example for stuff that would happen like that, where they would talk to him afterwards and he would just go off on these fucking tangents that had no bearing whatsoever. And also just made you look that much more silly.
They were like very Tito Ortiz-ish.
And this is what Tyson Fury did. He made himself look really silly. Now he kind of humbled himself a little bit in the presser afterwards, and said that like we're gonna take some time, we're gonna have some family time, we're gonna eat some food, and then we're gonna talk about it. Right away, he was talking October.
October, yeah.
That presser happened afterwards. He was kind of talking like, I don't know, this might be a wrap, which it very well should be, if you want my opinion, because Tyson Fury doesn't need the money. It's not about the money. He does it because he clearly enjoys doing it, right? He can live off of whatever for the rest of his days.
Now, Usyk is a legacy fighter, though. He's not a prize fighter. We all know that. So Tyson Fury is a prize fighter. Usyk is not a prize fighter. He's a legacy guy. Is this a good time to just shut it down?
For Fury or for Usyk?
For Usyk. Because now your legacy's done. If you think about it, you're undisputed in 2 different weight classes.
He's finished it. He's finished the game of boxing from where he started. He became a champion in every single division, working all of his way up. He's a blown up cruiserweight who just became the heavyweight champion. Let's face facts, guys.
I don't know why it sounds so disrespectful when you say that. He's a blown up cruiserweight.
Right? You know what they used to call that back in the day? Light heavyweight. They don't have light heavyweight, right? And you know who the guy was before? Evander Holyfield. All right? If you can hear me, Evander, you were the last guy that did that.
He can't hear you.
Oh, well, why?
He's not listening.
Part of his ear.
He's not listening.
Oh, well, anyways. Listen, that wasn't even, and I want to mention this very quickly because there was other fights that were on that same night. Top Rank had fights on later in the night, right? That was headlined by Emmanuel Navarrete and Denis Baranchyk. Baranchyk happens to be a Ukraine guy as well, right? Very good friend of Usyk. Fantastic boxer, but he was being overlooked in this because Navarrete is a guy who throws like 16 punch combinations. He throws these crazy combinations where he'll throw like at least, no, what was the status? Like 16 to 20 of these things per round. where he throws these multiple fights, always action, always forward, always coming at you. And it looked like this past weekend just happened to be the weekend to be a Ukrainian boxer, because Navarrete got beat in a decision. There was a fight before that on that same card with Brian Norman Jr., okay, taking on Giovanni Santillo.
Okay.
These fights took place in San Diego, right? And where Santillan is the favorite. He's a local guy, Mexican heritage. So we know how Mexican boxers are. They're very like in your face, want to keep slugging it out. If you get a chance to go back and watch this fight, Brian Norman Jr. puts on a phone booth clinic.
In the pocket, eh?
Like this entire fight went 10 rounds. Yeah, 10 rounds in a phone booth, dude. This is boxing personified, that finished off with one of the best knockouts of the year.